Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into a topic that's all about the music, the moments, and maybe even a little bit of controversy.
That sounds right up our alley.
Today, we're tackling the American Music Awards. I mean, we all know the AMAs, right? Big stars, huge performances.
Definitely. But we're going beyond the surface.
Exactly. We're digging into why the AMAs are more than just an awards show. They really reflect our culture, even our anxieties, in a way that's, well, kind of fascinating.
It's true. Think about it. The AMAs have never shied away from those moments that spark conversation, even controversy. And those moments say a lot about us as a society.
Totally. Like, who could forget Britney Spears in 2007 coming back after, everything she'd gone through?
Right. That performance wasn't just about the music. It sparked this huge discussion about mental health and how young stars, especially women, are treated by the media.
It's like suddenly everyone was talking about it.
Exactly. And then a few years later, you have Miley Cyrus in 2013, which, let's be honest, people are still debating today.
Oh, yeah. That foam finger is forever ingrained in my memory.
It was like this explosion of conversation about what's considered acceptable, the sexualization of young female artists. It went way beyond just entertainment news.
It really makes you wonder what those moments say about us. What will future generations think when they look back at those AMAs?
It's like a cultural time capsule, isn't it?
Totally. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's rewind a bit. The AMAs, they were born from this idea of shaking things up, right?
Absolutely. It goes back to 1974. Dick Clark, the legend himself, he wanted a show where the fans were in charge, the judges. It was a direct contrast to the Grammys, which were, and still are, very much about the industry.
Yeah, the AMAs were all about giving the power to the people. And you know what? That's still a huge part of their identity.
Totally agree. And speaking of which, their 50th anniversary special just aired on CBS the other day.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. They replayed a bunch of those iconic moments, the ones that, like we were saying, really sparked a lot of debate. Like, what about that whole Diana Ross and Lil' Kim situation back in '99?
Oh, you mean the wardrobe malfunction seen around the world?
Exactly. That wasn't just about a dress ripping, right? It became this huge symbol of where we were at with censorship, what we considered appropriate for live TV. It's crazy how much has changed.
I know, right? It makes you wonder what people will be freaking out about on live TV 50 years from now.
Who knows? But it's interesting, right, how these things force us to confront those uncomfortable questions, the things we maybe don't want to talk about.
Absolutely. And speaking of changing times, remember how the AMAs dealt with the whole COVID-19 pandemic? I mean, that threw the entertainment industry for a loop.
Seriously, live events were struggling to figure out what to do, but the AMAs in 2020, they just went for it.
They did. They tried that whole hybrid format, right? Some people there, social distancing, pre-recorded bits. It was like they were throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick.
And you know what? It kind of worked. They found a way to make it happen.
They did. And I think that says a lot about the entertainment industry as a whole. It was like this forced evolution into the digital world.
Yeah, they had to adapt, and fast. And now it seems like they're building on that. They announced they're going back to an annual event in 2025.
Which makes sense strategically. After that big 50th anniversary special, it's like they're ready to get back to their roots.
Stay current, keep their finger on the pulse of what's hot in music right now. And a big part of that is recognizing how much music itself is changing.
For sure. I mean, look at the new categories they've added. K-pop, Afro beats.
Yeah.
They're acknowledging that the future of music is global.
Right. It's not just about American music anymore. It's about celebrating those sounds that are resonating with fans all over the world.
Exactly. Which is really interesting when you think about it. How do you appeal to this massive, diverse audience while staying true to your, American roots?
That's a tough one. It's like walking a tightrope. And you know what else is interesting? There are resources out there like Kiddle. It's basically Wikipedia for kids, and they have a whole breakdown of the AMAs for a younger audience.
Wow, I didn't know that. It makes sense, though. The AMAs, they might have those controversial moments, but they also know they have a big influence on younger generations.
Right. They're not just reflecting culture, they're shaping it. It's like they're planting those seeds of interest in music and awards shows really early on.
Exactly. Which makes you wonder, how do they keep those younger fans engaged as they grow up, especially in a world that's changing so fast?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? So we've talked about how the AMAs reflect all these bigger cultural trends, but what about their impact on the music industry itself? Like, do these fan-voted awards actually influence artists, their careers?
That's a really good question, and honestly, it's a tough one to answer.
Yeah.
On the one hand, winning an AMA, especially for a newer artist, can be huge. It's like this big public statement that the fans are behind you, and that can lead to so much more visibility, streams, album sales, the whole 9 yards.
He's like getting that stamp of approval, but from the people who really matter, right? The fans.
Exactly. But, and there's always a but, isn't there?
Uh-huh. Usually.
Right. Well, there's also this criticism that award shows in general tend to favor the artists who are already established or the ones with those big, powerful labels backing them.
Yeah. That whole debate about popularity versus actual artistic merit, it's like that never goes away, does it?
Nope. And while the AMAs have definitely made an effort to recognize new genres, new artists, those up-and-comers, it's still kind of a mystery how much influence they actually have.
It really is. It's like the chicken or the egg dilemma. Do the AMAs actually help elevate artists, or are they just reflecting who's already at the top?
Probably a little bit of both, if we're being honest. And the AMAs are part of this huge web of influences, right? It's not so simple. But what we do know is that they give artists this massive platform, a chance to connect with fans on a global scale, celebrate what they've accomplished, and, hey, maybe stir up a little controversy along the way.
Because a little controversy never hurt anyone in showbiz, right?
Touché. But seriously, though, the fact that we're even still here talking about the AMAs after 50 years, I mean, that says something.
It really does.
They've become more than just an award show. They're like a reflection of how our relationship with music, with celebrity, with this whole idea of fandom has changed over time.
And that evolution isn't slowing down anytime soon. If anything, it feels like things are moving even faster now, with streaming taking over personalized playlists, short-form video everywhere you look. It makes you wonder, how do the AMAs stay relevant in a world like this?
That right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think the key, though, is to remember it's not just about predicting where music is going next, but understanding where fandom itself is headed.
Okay, now that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. In a world that's becoming more and more driven by algorithms, curated feeds, you know what people really crave? Authentic connection, shared experiences. And that's something that the AMAs have always been able to provide.
Yeah, it's that feeling of belonging, being a part of something bigger than yourself, finding your people, the ones who get your love for the music.
Exactly. And in a world that's getting more digital by the day, that sense of community, it's more important than ever.
So how do they do it? How do the AMAs tap into that need for connection, especially for a generation that's practically grown up online? How do you bridge that gap between, like, the digital world and the real world?
Well, for starters, I think it's about creating an experience that goes beyond just, sitting in front of your TV watching a show.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it. Interactive voting, but in real time. On social media. Give fans a voice at every step of the process.
I can see that. Fans going head-to-head, debating nominees, rallying votes for their faves, maybe even changing the outcome of a whole category in real time.
Exactly. Or how about exclusive behind-the-scenes content, interviews, live streams from backstage, maybe even virtual meet and greets with the artists. Give them that 360-degree experience.
It's like bringing that excitement of actually being there right to their phone.
Right. And we can't forget about all the cool stuff coming out with technology. Imagine experiencing the AMAs, but it's like you're in a virtual concert hall. Fans from all over the world, their avatars are going crazy cheering when their favorite artist wins.
Now, that's what I'm talking about, that level of immersion. That's how you reach those younger generations, right? The ones who live and breathe this digital world.
Totally.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, tech is just a tool. The real magic for the AMAs is using it to build that community, to remind people that even with all the digital stuff out there, music still has that power to bring us together.
It all comes back to the music, doesn't it?
Always does. And that's what the AMAs do so well. They use their platform to connect artists and fans, to spark conversation, to remind everyone that no matter how much things change, that feeling you get from music, that's never going away.
Well said. So next time you're watching the AMAs, remember, it's not just an awards show. You're part of something bigger. A conversation about music, celebrity, fandom, and hey, who knows? Maybe you'll even witness the next big AMA moment that everyone's talking about.
The AMAs, they're a reflection of us, aren't they? Our anxieties, the music we love, our fascination with these artists. It makes you wonder what the future holds.
It really does. Well, that's it for our deep dive into the American Music Awards. From their controversial beginnings to their pandemic evolution, all the way to what the future might hold. If you want to keep this conversation going, hit us up on social media. And until next time, keep the music playing.